Okay, we juggled this around a little bit. We are now live on YouTube. Okay, we checked the boxes. Really sorry about all that. We're compliant, we're streaming, got our quorum, good to go. So apologize for that, but Eric, if you want to go ahead and start the meeting,
Okay. Can you hear me, Roger?
Yep.
All right. Okay, we want to welcome everybody to the UIA board meeting this morning. Maybe we should do just quick introduction. Was Kobe from West Valley?
Correct. Yep. I'm from West Valley. I'm a Utopia board member, but just sitting in for Dan as an alternate today for this meeting.
Okay, good. And I don't see Orem.
Oh, Brent's in the room. He showed up.
Hey, Brent. Okay, awesome. I think everybody else is here, so we'll get started. Has anybody had a chance to review the December 11 minutes and make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as recorded.
Okay, we got a motion by Brand. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mayor Lundberg.
Thank you, Mayor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Item 3 is the financial audit presentation by Jason Roberts. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, thank you, Derek. Let me hurry and share my screen. Roger, you need to allow me to share my screen.
You should be able to do that now.
Okay. There we go. Okay, here's some highlights for the fiscal year 2023 audited financials that we got out prior to year end. And if you look at our operational results, they're looking very good. Our average monthly recurring revenue increased by 18.6% when you look at the total year. It went from 2.3 million per month to 2.7 million, so over a $400,000 per month increase. That's good growth here at UIA. The number of subscribers on the UIA Utopia network increased by 14%. I will note that this is not including numbers of subscribers we have in places like Idaho Falls or any of the partner networks we're working with that aren't actually on our network. This is subscribers on the UIA Utopia network that we own. But it went from 44,000 roughly to 50,000. So we passed the 50,000 mark, and that's a really good mark just for that. And then we have all the other subscribers on the other networks on top of that. Operating revenue, I believe operating revenue increased by 18.5%. It went from 28 million to 33 million over the fiscal years. We added one city partnership, which is West Haven, bringing the total to 8. We put on $67.3 million of fixed assets during the year. Most of that was in the partner cities that I'll talk a little bit about later that we finished up or came very close to finishing up during fiscal year 2023. Cash reserves right now are adequate to cover 0.9 years of operating expense less depreciation. So that's basically cash operating expense. Our cash reserves are adequate, but we need to plan to keep cash around the level where we ended the year. And I think for our bonding needs, 1 year's operating expense less depreciation is a pretty good target for where to have our cash at. Here's a look at our balance sheet for the last 4 years for UIA. The biggest change in here is both our current assets and non-current assets, and then our liabilities, which do change over time. You'll notice current assets decrease significantly. Most of this is related to cash from bonds to complete Pleasant Grove, Syracuse, Cedar Hills, and Santa Clara. We spent through most of those bonding cash numbers that we had last year. All 4 of those projects were very, very close, either complete or very close to complete at year end. But we also did have a decrease in operating cash that we had on hand. And this was in part due to construction cost increasing for the projects we are completing to get new customers on the network. We have seen an increase in construction cost over the last few years is what I'm saying. So we are seeing inflation has affected how much we pay for construction. Here's a look at our operating revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for the last 4 years. We talked a little bit about revenues and what they've done. Net operating income continues to grow quickly, especially if you remove depreciation, and that's closer to a cash basis if you look at what we're doing. Our bigger risk than operational right now, if you look at what we have going on, is our construction management. And we need to make sure that we're hitting targets for construction management and our construction management spend. And right now, if you look at our financial update, it's only shown on the balance sheet, so it's a little harder to see. If you look at the operational updates we do monthly, it's spelled out at the bottom of the operational update. So that's where the board watches that. Our change in net position also, if you look at it, it's decreased significantly over the past 2 years. It's primarily due to distributions that are being made to the cities. Prior to fiscal year 2022, 100% of those distributions were made to pay back operating loans that the cities had made to UIA years ago. We finished the payback of those operating loans in fiscal year 2022. When those operating loans are paid back, that doesn't really affect net position. It's a net zero. Now the paybacks are going toward loans made at Utopia. That ends up affecting net position at UIA. So you'll notice that member city payments line, $335,000 in fiscal year 2022. We actually gave back much more than that to the cities, but 335 was the portion that wasn't for operating loans. 100% of the payment in fiscal year 2023 wasn't related to operating loans and ended up affecting our net position. Last thing on here, this is just kind of a cash flow stress test showing how things have looked at Utopia, and frankly, it looks very, very good if you look at fiscal year 22 versus 23. Revenue growth has been strong compared to operating expenses. But the biggest number for me to point out here probably is the interest paid from capitalized interest. What this represents is interest payments on bonds that we put into the original bond price, because we know it takes 3 years to build out a project after we do it. We technically don't make those bond payments till 3 years later. So that $5.8 million you're looking at there, plus some principal, is going to start coming out of our cash the next few years. We're going to average over fiscal year 2024 through fiscal year 2026, about $4 million per year in additional bond payments that we have to pay. So we're going to need to continue to increase our operating revenue to make those payments. And we're projecting to do that. If you look at our numbers, we're averaging more than the $4 million we would need in additional cash coming in every year. So I think that's a good thing. That's all I had for my presentation. Are there any questions from the board?
Doesn't look like there's any questions. We going to turn the time over to Keddington Christensen?
We are. I was going to say that after I spoke, could we turn the time over to, I saw Ben, I didn't see Marcus, but one of those two, I think Ben might be doing the presentation, Ben Bailey from Keddington and Christensen, our auditors.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
All right, Ben, no more than 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to keep it short.
Okay, just kidding.
I will stop my share.
Okay, well, we appreciate the opportunity of auditing UIA again this year and working with Jason and his team. And we appreciate the opportunity to present it to the board here. We consider the board to be those charged with governance and the ones who are responsible for the financial reporting process. And we just like to remind you that an audit does not relieve governance or management of their responsibilities related to that process. So we audited the financials of UIA to obtain reasonable rather than absolute assurance. And if you have a copy of the financials on page 1, I mean, it's clean opinion. We state financial statements present fairly in all material respects. So it's clean opinion. There weren't any issues. And additionally, we look at the controls of UIA, not for the purpose of expressing an opinion, but just to see that they're working and to see if there are any issues. We didn't notice any issues in the controls, and that includes looking at cash receipts, cash disbursements, the payroll, the financial close. So we didn't see any issues with those, but again, we're not expressing an opinion on the controls of UIA. And then additionally, the other opinion we gave is on compliance with certain state compliance requirements that the state auditor requires. And for UIA, we didn't have any issues with those either. We didn't have no difficulties arose during the audit. Working with Jason and his team was great. It's always been great. The significant accounting policies used by UIA are in note 1 of the financials. The accounting system provides reliable financial information, and UIA has sound accounting policies that haven't changed during the year, and the disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear. So just a couple other things. We do take fraud procedures very seriously. So we ask questions, we analyze the fraud risks, we look at journal entries in addition to other work we perform. So I guess, that's pretty much all I have to say. Are there any questions for me?
Are there any questions from the board for Ben?
Yeah, Derek, I have a question. It's maybe more directed towards Jason, but I just on page 24 of the audit, 32 in the PDF, I just would like some explanation. One of the challenges I think we have in this organization is we carry a lot of debt, and it's necessary debt to generate revenue and build out cities. But I would just like some understanding made for myself and the public of the years 2029 to 2043, how it jumps up drastically in our long-term debt, 23 million, 24 million up to 117 million. And what is kind of the plan at that time, Jason?
Hold on, let me check that out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having to open that up really quickly.
Sure.
Can I say something real quick? We fixed the streaming part of the account and the meeting duration. You probably have a timer that's probably going to tell you that we only have 2.5 minutes of this meeting. It may kick us out and we may have to rejoin the meeting because the setting doesn't take effect apparently until we restart the client or whatever. So if everybody gets kicked out in 2 minutes, please just try to get back into the meeting. We'll get going again. So.
Once I'm kicked out, Roger, I'm out. I'm not going to.
Just a quick question, Roger. Is it the same Zoom link or are you going to have to send out a new Zoom link?
From what I can tell, it should be the same link.
Okay.
So if for some reason we have trouble, you'll all get an email with a new link. But from what I am reading here and can tell, it should be the same link.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, Brant, are you on 2024?
I'm on page
24, excuse me, 24.
Yes,
I think all you're seeing there is it's showing a 5-year period versus a 1-year period.
Okay, that's what I thought. And yeah,
so that's 5 years worth of payments, and the one before is showing 1 year worth of payment.
It does go up a little bit, and then we see it drops significantly to 50 million for that 5-year period in 2044. I know we're going way out, but
yeah, and that's when the bonds start to pay off.
Groovy. That's when
some of our bonds. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I just want to take a second and thank Jason and his staff. You guys did a good job. This is a ton of work. I've done this in my previous job in Brigham City for quite a few years, and getting the financial statements together and going through an audit's a lot of work. Headington Christensen's does a really good job, and I just want to say thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Looks like we need to do our election for UIA board members. I guess we just open the floor for questions.
Should we hold off just for a minute, Derek, just to see if we get kicked out? We're less than a minute.
Yeah, good idea.
But I am happy to make that nomination when we
I'm missing
return.
Wayne's